Hello, and thank you for joining us for this introduction to the Public Library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County's Facility Master Plan Project. I am Beth Yoke, and I am the Chief Strategy Officer for the library, and with me today is David Schnee from Group 4. They are the lead consultant on this year-long project that we are right about in the middle of right now in July.
Great. Thanks, Beth. And so what is a facility master plan, some may ask? It's a year-long process that will define and sequence both the short and long-term library improvement projects and the related service delivery improvements. Basically what this is the plan to keep the PLCH, Public Library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County's libraries, great for the next generation to come.
We are calling this larger effort Building the Next Generation Library. We plan on a 10-year facilities project that will launch once we have the facility master plan in place. And we definitely want to keep the public informed. So we have a website, you can see the web address on the slide, where we'll be sharing information as the project evolves. So please visit it often.
So you have a fantastic library system. You've been rated by the Library Journal a 5-star library 6 years in a row. You have one of the largest and most venerable libraries in the United States. You have serving over 800,000 people with millions of items of books and media, historical documents, a whole range of things. And not only is the library a place for books, but it's a place for people sharing ideas and information, and has over 20,000 free programs each year. We're seeking your input in this process and how we can keep the library to be great and even better. So your facilities are shown here with a little picture of each of them, and they're shown in size of proportion to each other. You have your wonderful main library, the north and south building, and the library trustees have said we're going to keep both buildings and we're going to repurpose them and explore how to repurpose them. And then all of the other 40 branch locations makes a wonderful library network. Where these all show up on the map is shown here, and each of these little circles shows the libraries in their relative size. We have some nice sized libraries, we have some medium sized, some smaller ones, and some tiny ones. But we call this, even the smallest ones, we call them small and mighty. So everyone's library is doing wonderful service. So why does one do a facility master plan? Because with all of these nearly 1 million square feet of space, there are facility, what's called capital needs needed. So we have to keep the libraries accessible. There are more than 3 branches that are not fully ADA accessible, and there are a number of accessibility challenges to some others. The average age of a PLCH library since it was built or since it was last renovated is over 40 years. So that means that we have a lot of investments to continue to make. And so we have lots of work ahead of us here and to keep the libraries great.
So I did want to give a shout out to our taxpayers who passed a levy in 2018 to support this project. The funding will come over a 10-year period, and we do recognize that there were some priority projects that couldn't wait till we were all the way through the planning process. So we have some things going on in 2019. That includes activity at the main library, a roof replacement, and also upgrading and replacing some heating and cooling systems that had reached the end of their lifespan. We also have accessibility projects underway at the Price Hill branch. Soon after that will be Walnut Hills and Madisonville, making those branches not only accessible, but improving them and expanding them is a priority for us. And then lastly, this is more of a behind the scenes thing, but the library has purchased a distribution center. We have a fleet of trucks and all kinds of fancy technology so that we can move materials around the county and everybody can get their materials quickly and efficiently. And this distribution center will ensure that continues to happen and provide a bigger and better space so we can continue to improve services to the residents of Hamilton County.
Right. The library works fantastically delivering books. People request either from coming into a branch or going online, and can request materials from any of the libraries to show up at a location of their choice. It's a big service delivery.
And we can circle back sort of to the very beginning of the planning process. And one of the first things that we worked with Group 4 to do was to have the Board of Trustees talk through what they felt would be the priorities for this project. So these planning principles that you see here on the slide are what the library's Board of Trustees has prioritized that we will be focusing on for the length of this project. And they include maximizing access to our library services and facilities, transparency, customer focus, operational sustainability, industry-leading excellence, and diversity and inclusion.
Great, thank you. So the master plan team is made up of firms from the Cincinnati area and beyond. Group 4 is my firm, and then Champlin Architects, who have done 3 of the more recent new branches for PLCH. Design Impact is Cincinnati-based community engagement specialist firm, and for strategy and technology, working with these national leaders, Susan Ken and Carson Block as well. So here's our graphic work plan that we've been underway. So we are now in July, and for the different 7 tasks that we're going through, and we'll summarize those a little bit later in the presentation, but most of all, underlying the different 7 tasks is the participation, which is really quite significant, where we are working with a project management team, a whole range of community stakeholders, having staff workshops, working with the Board of Trustees, and a lot of community engagement, and we'll share some of that with you now.
Early on in the process, everybody was in agreement that it was extremely important to engage as large a part of the community as we could. So we have worked with dozens of community leaders, stakeholders, and partners, and you can see some of them here on this slide. We have also identified some specific groups that we wanted to reach out to through focus groups. So on this slide, you can see that there is a wide range of folks we're trying to reach, including young professionals, refugees, tweens, all kinds of people from the community. We want to be as inclusive as possible and hear from as many folks as possible.
And we've been getting lots of valuable feedback. And what we've been hearing is about, similar to the trustees statement, embracing diversity, that we want the library to adapt and stay relevant, that we really, access is so important, and it's one of the democratic values in our community. We want the library to empower customers and engage the community. We're hearing that the library shouldn't just be a place to grab things, but it should be an actual community destination. It should be safe, welcoming spaces, be flexible in the types of how you use the spaces and the services you get inside it. It should be well maintained, they should be sustainable, and the library should continue to work with a variety of different community partners. Some people say the library is not in the book business anymore, it's in the community business. So what we're also hearing can be broken down into these various categories about physical space, about really making sure we keep our facilities upgraded and have the amenities that the community wants. And we should have diverse spaces for work and play. The library should hold lots of programs and services connecting people and resources and the community, and through lots of wonderful programs. And a lot of people are always surprised to learn in each of these meetings, oh, the library is doing this service, this program. So a lot of people are saying, oh, keep up with the marketing and communication, also have improved signage and promote those existing programs. And our last category, we're hearing about fostering a more equitable library experience, really being family-centered approach, being inclusive in the customer service, and being relevant to the diverse cultures in the community, and increasing access to the library, and how really want to make sure that it's a safe experience for everyone.
So as part of this effort, I mentioned earlier that we want to hear from and include as many people as possible. So we are having what we're calling community listening sessions at all 41 of our locations in the summer of 2019. These will run through August 26th, and you can visit our website and click on the calendar to find out when we'll be in your location.
So we hope you'll come out. We've been having great attendance at meetings. I think at this point in July, we're a little over halfway through all of them. So now walking through the various tasks that we'll be doing, starting with our first task, which is vision. So for the vision, we've been reaching out to the community through a series of online surveys and what we call the DOT survey, where people can come up to this poster that you see on the left here and what their priorities are. And what we were hearing so far is some of the top priorities about what the library can help me and my community do is to develop young readers, importance of literacy, succeed in school, learn something new. We're all lifelong learners. Be informed and engage, and connect to the world. Lots of other pieces here are community priorities. This will help us determine what should go in renovated and improved libraries. We also had a strategic vision workshop with many of those community leaders that Beth was describing, talking about. And so they really are excited to see that the library is going to stay relevant long into the future, and how there are many exciting ways that the library can be at the forefront of our quality of life and education and helping families succeed. So our second task is that of facility evaluations and a needs assessment. So we've been going into each of the different facilities, understanding their context, how their parking is, how do you see it from the street, what's the age of the building and its condition, what features it has. Many libraries don't have meeting rooms, some don't have group study rooms, some are really impacted from generations or decades of use. So this forms the foundation of our work, and Champlin Architects has been our lead in evaluating the various facilities. As I mentioned before, the board has said we're going to be keeping and repurposing the main library, and cities across the U.S. are reimagining and reinventing and reinvesting in their main libraries, and this is a great opportunity for Cincinnati as well. So the next task is what we call system design. So you have 41 locations plus the distribution center. And so how do these all work together? We found out that lots of through all of our community meetings and through what we call customer mapping here, we found out that lots of library users use more than one library. Many people have a great affinity for the library that's closest to them, but many use libraries that may be closer to a family member, closer to work, or somebody's school. So each one of these dots here shows where in a 1 week period in December of last year, where all the different customers who came to a different colored branch here, by color coded here, took out a book. And so it really shows that we have, for the most part, excellent geographic coverage within Hamilton County. We also looked to see what was the reach of the main library, and we're finding that there are people from the furthest corners of the county, but really the folks within the sort of center half of the county really are make up the bulk of the main library users. And we've been asking our community listening sessions, do you use the main library and why? We also been tracking from which libraries you're at, what other libraries you use. And we can see that there's all these different travel patterns between them. And we're calling this that everybody doesn't just get one library to use. You actually have all of them you can use with your library card. But a lot of people have their own sort of personalized networks of libraries they use. That helps us make sure that all the types of resources available are from wherever you are in the county, you can get the types of programs, materials, resources that you need. So that takes us to the task that we're actually in now, which is exploring the facility recommendations and actually understanding the various options we have for that. And so we're working in each of these community listening sessions to explore at each location which of the following options might make sense. What sort of renovations may be appropriate, such as a makeover? Is there opportunity to expand on the library? Many of them have small additions that may be possible, and a few of them have larger ones. If the facility is really well past the end of its life cycle, but is in a great location, it may be a better return on investment if we actually replace the building with a brand new one at its location. In some opportunities. There may be other sites nearby that might be able to house a bigger, better library, and so we're looking at that. And there aren't too many of these, but there may be some opportunities where a couple of libraries are being used interchangeably by folks, and consolidating a couple of them together to make even a bigger, better library may be something that we'll be exploring. And so in addition to all of those, we're looking to see all the opportunities of what a 21st century library can be. And we're really in a great era in Group 4. My company has had the privilege of designing and help plan libraries across the country. And the 21st century library is really an exciting place. And those tend to be a little bit bigger than any of the libraries you have here. And might there be opportunities to expand some of your existing locations to make sure we could have at least a good sampling of 21st century destination libraries. So if you come to one of these community listening sessions, we are doing collaging and worksheets where each community member can work in small teams and share their thoughts on which of these options are most appropriate for your network of libraries that you use. And so a couple of illustrations of what a 21st century destination library looks like here in Dayton, Ohio. This is the Northwest Library, which actually was a consolidation of a few small branches into one 30,000 square foot library. It has all sorts of wonderful spaces, teens, children's, cafe, divisible meeting rooms, group study rooms, music recording, lots of wonderful things, quiet study, just a fantastic array of services. And if you compare it to the Reading branch, Northwest plan at 30,000, almost 2.5 times the size of the Reading branch, you can get a sense of all the types of spaces that you can get in a new 21st century library. And all of the meetings that we're hearing, people are saying, hey, we want places for quiet reading because their libraries are too crowded, but we also want places to meet in groups so we don't have to bother people. And we really want places for our children and our teens. We'd like to do creative maker spaces. We'd like to meet with our partners. We want more parking. We want to be able to be helped by staff. So a lot of this is done by hopefully getting a number of larger libraries here at PLCH. And so also to illustrate what an addition might look like, these are projects, another Group 4 project where we took a historic building, a mid-century building, and added a large meeting room to it and renovated the existing building. Another mid-century building that was shown on the right had a big addition and had that indoor-outdoor spaces and helped fix a neighborhood which is sort of a bunch of parking lots and other places. It was kind of hard to organize and know your way around, and the library really serves as a good anchor for that. And so we're in each of these community listening sessions having this interactive. I mentioned a collage. We'll put down the worksheet. This one was from Price Hill, where people could select images and write captions for it for the library where you're meeting and the other ones nearby. So it's really a fun activity, and we get lots of good information from it. So please come out and share your thoughts. And so after we have those recommendations, what we'll be doing next is working on the implementation planning. And so that will coming up with the cost to do this and the implementation strategies. And most of all, we want to come up with a plan that can be delivered. Issue 3 that Beth spoke about is really is a wonderful opportunity to make a lot of these improvements. But we know that the total amount of improvements needed will probably be greater than the available funds. And so it will be important to prioritize them, and going back to the Board of Trustees principles to make sure that we are having the best impact, meeting access and equity to the community for how these improvements can be done. And then with the success of all of these projects over this decade, perhaps we'll have the roadmap for what can be done after that.
So we definitely want to hear your ideas for how we can improve our facilities and services and resources for the residents of Hamilton County. There is a feedback form. The web address for that is here on the slide. If you're unable to come to a community listening session, or maybe you do come and have further ideas afterwards, please feel free to fill out this quick and easy form and share your thoughts. We're gathering as much information, ideas, and feedback as we can. So we will have an informed, strong plan that we can move forward with for the next 10 years.
Great. Thanks, Beth.
Well, thank you, David. And this is the end of our introduction to the Facility Master Plan project. We really appreciate you taking the time to hear about that. If you do have any questions or ideas or concerns, you can also share those through the feedback form. We appreciate your time today, and we look forward to working with you to build an even bigger and better library system for the future.